Hello, I'm David Shearan. And if you're wondering where Mary Jane and Rhonda are, well, you got the B team, me. So I want to welcome you to Great County Life and my guests today. And we're going to have some really interesting guests. But my first guest today is Aidan Ware. And Aidan is the director and chief curator of the Thomson Gallery here in Owen Sound. And, you know, I really appreciate the Tom. It's a wonderful gallery. It's a real treasure for us as people of Grey County and as people of Owen Sound, and it's owned by us. So let's talk with Aidan about it. Aidan, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much. Absolutely delighted to join you today.
Now we're coming out of COVID, almost like coming out of let's say that the groundhog coming out of his burrow, but it's a little later than Wire Willie is. But what's happening at the Tom? You've got some new shows going on, don't you?
We do. And you know what? We're so excited because the year started out in the same way that last year started out, and we were closed, but it ended up being for such a short period of time. And we were really grateful for that because it meant that we could maintain our exhibition schedule and move ahead with our programming. And things have been so positive. We've seen so many people coming back to the Tom in person, really excited to be able to get out into the community to see art, to see other people, in fact. We've launched 3 new exhibitions and they are really incredible. One is actually by 2 artists. It's Becky and Jennifer Wanner. They didn't actually know each other, but we curated them together because their practices really focused on very similar themes around nature and, you know, whether we can control nature or whether we are controlled by nature. And so lots of sort of philosophical debate within that exhibition. And the way that they work is incredibly detailed, and their attention to the kind of, you know, intricacies of their work is remarkable. So that exhibition is called The Dream of Deep Ecology, and it's very much centered on, you know, an ecological worldview. And the works really speak for themselves. And I actually, at this time, find it a very grounding exhibition to come and see, especially as we're heading into spring and things are feeling like the flowers are popping back out again. And there's this deep sense of rootedness with the earth that comes across from that exhibition. And we have another exhibition that's by local Indigenous artist Brent Henry, and the topic really centers on the legacy of the residential school system and its impact on Indigenous people. And Brent Henry is himself the descendant of a survivor, and so this is very personal and very meaningful work, very deep. But we knew that this would be a difficult topic for many people to tackle. So what we did was we introduced a resource space within the gallery as well. And it's a place where people can read more about the residential school system. They can, we've included books that parents can share with their children. So if they're having a hard time discussing it, that there's a table and a sitting area for kids and parents to come in and explore more around the topic, because the paintings are very moving. And ultimately, I actually think they're quite hopeful because he brings us back to the point where we see that that Indigenous people are reclaiming their culture, they're celebrating their culture and their languages, and that is such a positive step forward. So that has been a really powerful set of exhibitions for us. And I like to think that they're related in some way, Indigenous worldview with respect to nature, and then also Indigenous history. And so we asked Brent to also curate an exhibition based on our collection. And he has done a really outstanding job bringing forward some Indigenous artists that are in the Tom's collection, including Carl Beam, Norm Belmore, so Rebecca Belmore. There are some really big names in that exhibition, and it focuses again on the sort of the art as medicine and how can we heal through art. And that's really an important concept for us at the Tom.
One of the things I find about Indigenous art is that it presents us with a different worldview. And it doesn't matter whether it's Norval Morrisseau or any other Indigenous artist, it's a different lens by which we can see our world. And I think it's, personally, I find it very helpful and very interesting. The other thing that I find very interesting with many Indigenous artists is the colors are so vibrant. They're often very, very intense, would be a good way to describe it. And I think that intensity helps me understand just what is being shared with me. That this is serious business. This is not to be taken lightly. It also is sometimes many times it speaks to the language of hope. So I'm really pleased to see that happening at the time. We've got about 2 minutes left, and I wanted to touch on one of the really nice things that's happening here in the city is the open pass, the open card that's happening. Tell us about that.
We're very excited to launch this program. We've been working with the library, the Billy Bishop Museum, and the Marine and Rail Museum to introduce first ever free membership that will span across all these institutions. So it's a great way for us to all be more accessible to people in this region. We've come together, we are launching the card. It's called the Open Card, obviously because it's your key to accessing all of our various spaces. And that will launch on May 18th. And the following weekend will feature an open house as well for people to come in and check out all these different locations. So anyone that can get a library card can access one of these open cards. It's very easy, it's free, and it really removes any kind of barriers that people have to accessing our institutions. So you no longer need to pay for a membership to come to the Tom or to any of these institutions. It's free. And it's all contained in one card. So it includes the library, the Billy Bishop, the Tom, and the Marine and Rail Museum. It's super exciting. It helps us to work collaboratively. And we know that it will really help us, share across our organizations.
Well, that's great, Aidan. We're just about out of time, and I wanted to thank you for being a part of Great County Life today. Always good to hear what's happening down at the Tom. So I'm sure that if I don't, my other colleagues here at Rogers will talk to you again. Thanks, and I'm sure we'll be talking.
Thank you.
All right, bye now.
Bye.
This program is brought to you by NHL Center Ice. Follow the teams and players you want to watch no matter where they play. NHL Center Ice is part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack.
Being stuck in your home during this pandemic also means you have a home. Waiting in line for groceries means you have money for groceries. The isolation, being broke and totally scared about what's next. I was feeling that before this crisis. People say we're in this together, but me? I've got no one.
Youth who have aged out of the child welfare system are in danger of falling further through the cracks because of today's crisis. They need your support. Please give today at helpyouthnow.ca.
As the fighting continues in Ukraine, thousands of people are fleeing for their lives, forced to leave everything behind. You can help them. Your donation to the Humanitarian Coalition will provide food, water, shelter, and medical care to the people of Ukraine who urgently need it. Call 1-855-461-2154 or donate online today at together.ca. That's together.ca. The Humanitarian Coalition. Together, saving more lives.
Hi, I'm Cal Ewens, defenseman with the Hometown Attack. Go behind the scenes with your favorite team on Attack Craft every Tuesday on Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome back to Great County Life. I'm David Shearan. And Rhonda and Mary Jane are still away, so we've got another segment of Great County Life just for you. My guests are Norman Ragletai and Rebecca Rainsford of the Intersections Art Gallery. Now, if you remember the corner of 3rd Ave East and 10th Street East, there is a lovely unique corner building there. And there's a whole bunch of small little niche businesses in there, but one of them right on the corner is the Intersections Art Gallery, or it's got a new name, doesn't it, Norman?
Yeah, that's right. We're now the Intersections Wood Collaborative, which is, evocative of the collaboration that we want to start, and the fact that it's not a single vision that Stephen Hogben had with that art gallery and studio, but continuing his legacy, but now as a nonprofit. So we're a new nonprofit and continuing to build on that foundation that Stephen Hogben created there at Intersections.
And Stephen Hogben was, if people are aware, is a well-known artist in wood here. And he was your father, correct, Rebecca?
Yes, that's right. He is predominantly known for his woodworking. He also has a history in furniture design and has done a number of other outdoor installations and other projects in and around Owen Sound and in other parts of the world.
And he taught at Humber College, as I recall.
Well, definitely at Sheridan College. I can't speak to Humber,
yes,
but definitely at Sheridan in the early 70s. He did a number of courses there.
Yes, I had a vague recollection, because I lived in the area of Mississauga and knew Sheridan College and people who were at Sheridan College, so the name was not unfamiliar to me when I first heard it. But yeah, before he passed away, I did hear a presentation made by him to the local Rotary Club, and it just blew me away. Some of the design that he almost was, dare I use the word magical, in his understanding of wood and grain, and just, it was beautiful. It was functional, but it was beautiful art, and it was stunning. But then again, we've got a piece of his work right here at the Owen Sound Public Library. I mean, that was a massive piece that he did. The desk. So as people go to the public library, the Owen Sound Public Library, they can see his work still, and of course in other parts of the world.
Yeah, there's a number of places in Owen Sound actually that you can see his work. One's down at Harrison Park. He has an outdoor installation there as you're coming into the park on the left-hand side. Another is the hospice. He has a piece in the lobby of the hospice. And then of course the library, which was his final large installation. That's the last major piece that he did as an installation in the public.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, because I do recall a piece that he has at Chapman House, and yes, that's not normally seen by the broader public, but yes, it's a beautiful piece of art there. So, but he left. It sounds like Stephen left a core group, so that would include people like yourself, Norman. Who had a love of wood and were love to do things with wood, but surely it's more than that.
Yeah, like in September 2021, so 6 months ago now, there was a group of about 30 folks that gathered at the Harmony Center, at the invitation of Rebecca and her father, and we talked through ideas about how we could continue the legacy of what Intersections had brought to the region and the community. The courses, the engagement with the instructors, matching up instructors with people that wanted to learn. He had an artist in residence program, the exhibits, all these different dimensions of what Intersections was doing in under Stephen's guidance and leadership. And we decided then that a nonprofit was the best structure to enable that and to engage more people in helping make that a reality. So that's where it started. And we're, as of March 1st, we're officially incorporated. So we have a board of directors, we have a group of volunteers working with us to make this a reality. So it's really exciting and encouraging time to have watched that evolution over that period of time. And we have a legacy gift from Stephen in terms of his wood equipment and wood and things like that to really get us off on the right foot. So it's exciting times.
And the location is still at that 10th Street East and 3rd Ave East location where the gallery was prior to his passing.
That's right. We will be running classes and courses in the shop there, as well as organizing some group projects. So places where woodworkers can come together and create something together and not necessarily being instructed, but just collaborating. And we also hope to enter into an agreement with the county about the use of some classrooms at the old Sydenham School and offer some kinds of programming there. So we have to, grow our capacity to be able to do that kind of programming, but there's a vision for exhibits and events as well that we might be able to run with the two locations. So, but we'll have to walk before we run. So, but the enthusiasm of the group is incredible, and it seems to be snowballing a little bit with more and more folks coming on board. So we have a contact list of some 600 people in the region. So there's quite a bit of interest in wood and woodworking, and you really don't have to be an expert to subscribe and belong. You can support the organization even if you're just someone who appreciates wood, or maybe you're a frustrated woodworker and need a little help to get on a path where you can start creating things yourself.
That's really interesting because for men and women of a certain age, part of your school curriculum was indeed woodworking or wood shop. And you kind of learn some of the fundamentals. I think I've still got a couple of pieces sitting around from back in those days, and I'm not going to say how old they are, but they're still here. But I think what it did was at least it gave me, and I'll put myself in that category, an appreciation of what you could do with wood, and it wasn't complicated. It was almost as if you were creating something that was, there it was. It was something you had been able to create out of what was basically some blocks of wood. And it was fun, and it was actually very satisfying. So this would be the kind of opportunity that someone might wish to do later in life as well, to go back and pick up that sort of itch that you had.
Absolutely. We've got lots of folks that, have more time on their hands and want to rediscover or build new skills and, sort of work alongside people perhaps with, more experience so they can learn a bit. But we also have had inquiries from people with, relatively young children, like Rebecca. I think you were corresponding just this week with someone whose 11-year-old child is really interested in woodworking, has some experience. So we're thinking about, how to organize things that can be meaningful for young people as well. We haven't got that all set up yet, but it's not just for the retirees, although there's a lot of us in the group that are like that. It's also something that, we want to design programming that will appeal to the whole spectrum of skill sets, but also age groups and types of enthusiasm from people that, want to make something very artistic to sometimes practical things, paddles or, wooden spoons or implements they can use in the kitchen. So, that whole range of kinds of experience.
Rebecca, it sounds like your dad really had a strong sense of vision of what he wanted to pass on, kind of like the consummate teacher. That'd be a good way to put it.
Well, he was certainly very committed to the continuum of forest to final product. And, as you and Norm were talking, I was thinking about what the other things that we're offering that are more forest-based, like our Bonsai Workshop that's coming up, where participants will be able to actually go and forage and collect a bonsai tree that's going to go into a wooden box that's been pre-made by our group. And that's a course that's coming up towards the end of April. So it's not just about making with wood, but it's also about the importance of trees in our environment and different aspects related to that whole continuum.
That's really interesting because if you know the history of Grey Bruce, you'll know that it was founded on wood. It was founded on lumber, and it was founded on furniture, because many of the industrial sites that we look, Southampton, Chesley, Markdale, you go Hanover, you go across Grey Bruce, and what you discover are former furniture factories. And there was I know I haven't named them all, but there was a craftsmanship, there was a pride in that kind of work, because even I have been told to this day that if you can find Krug furniture, it is extremely well made of local wood, and I don't know what it goes for, the prices, but it's not cheap. So people appreciate the quality, and I guess this kind of continues that tradition that we have in Grey Bruce of working with wood, and that continuum, I like that word, Rebecca, of forest to product.
Yeah, Grey Bruce really does have some incredible trees, and a few years ago, Dad wrote I actually grabbed it just before our segment, Extraordinary Tree Project, which is a book that's still available. And in it, it highlights a lot of trees in Grey Bruce. We were lucky that he donated his barn full of wood to the Intersections Wood Collaborative. So we do have a good selection of wood that people will be using in the classes to create with. And I think that it's a really exciting time and opportunity for people interested in the continuum of wood in this community and beyond. We've gotten a lot of registrations from people out of the area as well.
Rebecca, that actually raises a question, something I bumped into a few years ago. I knew a gentleman who had spent his life, his hobby was woodworking, and he had to move to a retirement home. And he was really pondering about, what do I do with the wood that I have collected over the years? And some of it was stunning wood, and some of it you just can't buy anymore. Is the group open to those kinds of donations? And could people who, if they had not a barn full of firewood, we're not talking that, we're talking about lumber that has been maybe even from Grey Bruce over the years. Are you interested in those kind of conversations?
We do have a couple of opportunities that would be relevant to that coming up. One is we would absolutely consider donations of wood that we would be able to make things with. But the second is we are planning an online auction fundraiser. And the fundraiser is intended for money to go towards the Intersections Wood Collaborative and the things that we're working on doing. And we will be doing a call out for donations to artists, to people that have products such as wood, or to people that have services. Maybe they would like to offer, a tour of their woodworking facility or something that they could offer. And that'll be coming up in the next few months. So people could definitely stay tuned for our call out for that opportunity to donate.
That sounds like a really interesting opportunity, and it sounds like actually very, very exciting to reconnect with the important parts of both the community, but also our regional history as well. So this sounds incredibly exciting. Now, Norman, you said to me before we started that you are looking for volunteers within the organization, correct? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so we've got a kind of different ways to plug in, I guess. At the simplest level, people can, subscribe to our e-newsletter and find out what's going on, some of the things that Rebecca's talked about, and just keep up to date. So you can email us at info@intersectionsos.org, and I'll provide that address to Mark, and maybe he can post it. So that's the simplest, easiest sort of starting point for everyone. Like I said, we already have 600 people like that. Then there's more active volunteers, and we have a sort of project teams that Bob Hope on our board is collaborating, is coordinating, and so people could volunteer to be part of project teams to make things like the bonsai boxes. And I think we're full up on bonsai box makers now, but there'll be more projects in the future like that. We also have working groups. We have like a communications and engagement working group. So if you've got talents and skills that are about advertising, marketing, social media, communications type things, we have a place you can contribute that. We have a tools and shop working group and a program planning working group, as well as a board. So depending on your level of commitment and what you're interested in, there's places to plug you in. So it's a dialogue, of course, where we want to talk to someone who wants to volunteer or to plug in and find out the best way to situate them so they're giving what they want and at a level that is commensurate with their commitments. So we're really a going concern with like you said, exciting opportunities to grow too. So it's a good time to get involved.
Well, I want to thank the both of you for being a part of Grey County Life today. This sounds like an absolutely delightful and very exciting initiative. And I'm sure we'll have to have you back to talk more about the Intersections Collaborative. So thank you again. And I am sure, if I'm not, it'll be Rhonda and Mary Jane. They'll be talking to you. Thank you both.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you, David.
And thank you, friends. We'll be back. We got to pay the rent, so we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Sure, right now a lot of you feel like you aren't able to be who you truly are.
What's most important, more important than everybody else knowing who you are, is that you know who you are.
As a young person, time moves slower for you, and just know that things will get better.
It Gets Better Canada is a registered Canadian charity with a focus on uplifting our queer youth through the power of digital storytelling.
As a Two-Spirit person, I use they, them pronouns, but that's not the case for every Two-Spirit person.
There are so many voices out there that we didn't have 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
No matter what your mind tells you, you really are perfect the way you are, so stop beating yourself up so much.
I'm gonna be a boy in a dress, because why not?
Your identity is explosive.
We all have our unique journeys, but one thing that connects us all is the desire to be happy, the desire to celebrate being our authentic selves.
Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
Hi, I'm Cedric Gano, and I'm a center for the Owen Sound Attack. Catch great OHL action on Rogers TV as we bring you Owen Sound Attack games live, both home and away.
Hi, and welcome back to Grey County Life. I'm David Shearan. Rhonda and Mary Jane are still away, and so you got the B team, me, and I'm having a lot of fun today. I've had some interesting guests, and my next guest is Rhonda Mitchell of the Billy Bishop Museum right here in Owen Sound. Rhonda, welcome. Good to have you here.
And thank you for having me. I'm glad to be a part of this.
Now, like all of the city facilities, because the Billy Bishop is a city facility.
No, it's not.
It's not? Then somebody's been misleading me.
A lot of people, the city of Owen Sound does not run the Billy Bishop Museum.
It's an independent board then.
City run. No, we are our own community museum.
Excellent. Excellent. Now that we've got that cleared up, tell me, what's been happening at the museum? Before we went to air, you were saying that you were only open about 6 months of the last 2 years, or about 6 months each year of the last 2 years. So it's been pretty tough.
Yep. Yeah. So it's been difficult financially. So we have, of course, relied on a lot of grant writing and grant funding. The community has been great. We're still receiving donations. That's how the museum runs, on grant donations and, of course, fundraising.
Right, right. Now, in actually a previous interview that I've done on this show, which will show up on this show, is that there's a new admission pass that's happening in the city. One card, I think it is. It's a glorified library card that you can get into the Bishop Museum. Is that right?
Yes, we are part of that group. It's a new card, and it's an open card, and the 4 people, there's us, the Thomson, the library, and I believe the Marine and Rail Waterfront Heritage. They are also in this, and if you have this pass, you get admission to one of, we're all included in the admission if you have that card.
So get yourself down to the library, get yourself a library card, and you can have all the admissions you want to all the great museums here in the city.
Exactly, yes.
Great, great. But there's other things happening at the Billy Bishop. Well, what's in the cards for this coming season?
We are having our Fire and Ice fundraising gala, Ladies Night Out. It is back this year, and it's in person. And we will be hosting it once again at the Best Western Inn on the Bay here in Owen Sound.
Well, that's great. And I happen to know the manager there, and I eat there regularly, so I can tell you the food is always good. And I'm sure they're preparing a special menu, are they not?
Yes, they are. They're, of course, the ladies, the regular meal is a roast beef dinner, roasted potatoes, dill carrots, and a salad with honey dill sauce.
Terrific. Terrific. Now,
and
this is,
of course, and of course, we can't forget all the delectable desserts. There will be a whole table of, those goodies for the ladies to choose from.
Oh my. This is a night when things like calories are simply left at the door, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I presume there'll be will there be a vegetarian option or a gluten option for that?
Yes, okay. There is a vegetarian's option, and that's the chef. He'll make that decision just before the event.
Yes, and I can assure you that the food there is excellent. So it will be a very good meal. I'm quite certain. Now, what's the program for the evening?
Well, there's a cocktail hour. The ladies will come in and they'll get to mingle. They'll enjoy a complimentary glass of wine, and that has been sponsored by Peely Island Winery. And while they're mingling and having their wine, they can, there's ticket draw table and a silent auction table, and they can, put in a bid, or they can put in a ticket in hopes of winning that item that has been generously donated by local businesses.
Now, any idea of what will be on offer?
Oh, we're just collecting everything right now, so I can't really say. I know we have a photo, Sandra Shank. She donates. She does pet photos, group photos, and so she's always good to donate to this event. She has donated her time. I can give that away so far. The group is out and about, and we have put out requests to local businesses. So anybody that would like to be a part of this evening, just give us a call. It's 152 ladies. We always sell out. So you got 150
That was my
ladies that are there.
next question. How many tickets are it's 152? Is that right?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay.
150.
100, and what's the cost of the tickets?
The tickets are $80 each, and they are available on our website, gillybishopmuseum.org. And you just go to the events page, and you'll see the Fire and Ice listed, and you can purchase your tickets there.
Now, there's one thing we haven't let the cat out of the bag on. When's the date?
It's Saturday, May 7th, and the doors open at 6 p.m. So like I said, the ladies arrive at 6. They can mingle for an hour during cocktail hour, and then they'll sit down to their plated dinner around 7. And during cocktail hour and the plated dinner, the ladies, of course, are served by local businessmen.
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot barge pole. Okay? I'm not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole, Rhonda. That sounds interesting.
And then the highlight of the evening, of course, is after the dinner, the live purse auction. And the ladies bid on the purses in hopes of winning one that contains a jewel, usually a ring, but I can never guarantee it. Piece of jewelry that's been donated by DC Taylor Jewelers here in Owen Sound.
Well, having shopped at DC Taylor's myself, I can certainly endorse the quality of their particular merchandise. So, yes, this could be very interesting. How many purses will there be?
We normally have 5. And they're always donated. We're very lucky. The local businesses are very generous to this event. And of course, it's our biggest fundraiser here at the museum. The funds that we raise go towards our operations, our exhibits. And of course, we have a lot of artifacts in storage, and that takes a lot of care. There's special boxes that they have to be stored in, special non-toxic wrapping paper, and we have air control. So that all costs money.
Yes, and I think when we go back to my faux pas at the opening, when you're an independent museum, you do exist on things like grants and fundraising, and it's so important to be a part of that. And it's great that the community has the opportunity to respond in such a generous way. We don't realize that running a museum, it's not just putting your great aunt's china on display. You are dealing with Canadian heritage, literally Canadian heritage.
Exactly. We have a lot of artifacts that are in our care, and we own a lot of them, and a lot of them are also loaned to us on a temporary donation to be put on display. And so we have to take care of all this stuff. And we have special storage areas. That's where the quality air control comes into play. And to run quality air control, of course, that takes hydro. So we have to pay our own utilities. And the artifact boxes themselves, we get them from a special company. They cost a lot. And so
this is museum quality storage. This is what it takes to store pieces of history, which leads me to another question. I recall a conversation I had with one of the staff a few years ago now, where you have a special interest in local veterans' stories and local veterans' memorabilia.
Yep.
And if families have memorabilia, medals, photographs of local veterans, you are certainly very interested in them, are you not?
Oh, by all means, if you have anything of that nature, by all means, call Emily, our curator. She's our director and curator here at the museum. She will certainly meet with you, or you can come to the museum with your items, and she will take a look, and she will let you know if it's part of what goes into our collection. But by all means, give the museum a call, and she has no problem discussing with with the families or the individual.
Yes, I've come across situations where families have been going through a deceased relative's possessions and come across these kinds of things, and they've said, "What do we do with them?" And I have, because we've been having these conversations, I've said, "Well, talk to the Billy Bishop, because they are interested in local stories and local veteran stories." And are you not also collecting right now Afghanistan stories?
We are. We're getting ready for an exhibit opening. Those who fought in the Afghanistan war. So any veterans, local veterans that want to participate in this, it's like a living exhibit. It tells their story. Their stories as a soldier, their story while they were there in Afghanistan. It's just an ongoing, it'll be on, I believe, for 1 year. Don't quote me on that, but it will be up, I believe, in May. So Emily and Dave Alexander, he's the chair of the Veterans Committee. They have been, and Carolina, our collections manager, they have been interviewing veterans, collecting this information. They've already started. So if anybody knows of anyone that has fought in the Afghanistan war, and if they want to have their name, they can have their name put on display with their story, or they can leave their name out of it, but it's a story that can be told still, even if it's on written paper. By all means, just call the museum.
Yes, and I think one of the things that does happen is with veterans, and it doesn't matter who it is, because I've encountered this myself over the years, you want to preserve the stories, because the stories can very easily get lost.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And because they don't get told, because often they're very hard to tell, because they're very personal stories. But what I'm hearing you say is that you're quite willing to work with the person, with the veteran, to tell the story in a sensitive manner that is sensitive to them, but also to what has happened, because it's simply to record the history that would otherwise disappear. Is that generally what you're trying to do?
Yes, that's the main idea. Yes, to just tell their story. So if they don't want to be on video, they do not have to be on video. If they do not want their name mentioned, their name does not have to be mentioned. It's their story that is the exhibit. And of course, if they have any artifacts that are from the war, even though veterans will collect things from the war. So, if there's something that they want to put on display or want to share with us for the exhibit, by all means, let Emily and Dave know.
Sure. And Dave, I should also mention that Dave especially has got a very long and strong history in our local, in the history of our local veterans. He's conducted as a history teacher. He's very well versed in our local history. So Dave Alexander is he's a real resource for the museum as well, because I know him.
Yes, and he's very enthusiastic about history, and he really enjoys the topics that we discuss. So he's a
local, dare I say, a local treasure?
Oh yes, I'm going to tell him that. Yes,
you do. You do, because it's funny that we're talking about this, because while you might think that the role of the museum is to just tell the story of Billy Bishop.
No,
it's not. It's to tell the local stories and to tell and that's what Fire and Ice does, is it helps support that telling of stories, doesn't it?
Yes, it helps. Yeah, it supports everything that we need to do to run the museum, and that's why it's so important. And not only that, the ladies, they get a night out, and this year they deserve a night out. Get dressed up, put on your, fancy shoes, and just come out and enjoy another, an evening out, having some wine, cocktails, being served by the local businessmen, enjoying a great meal, and then, of course, all the prizes, supporting local businesses.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to our local businesses who also support. We've mentioned a couple so far, but I'm sure there are many more, and there will be many more to support this, and who do support these kinds of fundraising events, because that's a really important part of our local community. Is that these are businesses who support our community, and we in turn can support them, because we've all had a rough 2 years.
It's been a long 2 years. Yeah. And museums, like a lot of, art galleries, museums, anything cultural has been pretty much shut down. And so don't forget about the arts and culture. When everybody's worried about going back out for, their dinner and stuff, don't forget about us too. We need your support as well.
Very good point, Rhonda. Very good point. Because and while our museums, I think it's fair to say our museums and our artists have had not had an easy time of it over the last 2 years.
No.
And I'm sure you and the staff can tell stories, I'm sure.
Trying to, a lot of grant writing, trying to find a lot of grants to keep going the last 2 years. But like I said, we've been, fortunate to the donation. People, still remembered us through donations. And that has really helped us as well to keep going.
Sure. And the people of Owen Sound are incredibly generous, and I'm sure they will continue to be generous as they support Fire and Ice.
Absolutely.
Rhonda, I want to thank you for being a part of Grey County Life today and telling us all about Fire and Ice. And again, just go to the Billy Bishop's website and use your search engine to type in Billy Bishop Museum, and I'm sure you'll get there. And it's on there.
BillyBishopMuseum.org.
All right, that sounds great. Well, Rhonda, thank you. And friends, we got to pay the bills again, so we'll be right back. Hi, I'm David Shearan, host of Politically Speaking on Rogers TV. Join me for my next show where my guest will be Ian Boddy, Mayor of Owen Sound. Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
At St. John Ambulance, we're all about community. We teach life-saving skills and provide community support through our volunteer services. All St. John Ambulance product sales and training registrations support these important services. Volunteer, donate, or enroll in a program today so we can continue to have an impact on our community. Visit sja.ca to learn more. At St. John Ambulance, we do more than save lives, we change lives.
As the fighting continues in Ukraine, thousands of people are fleeing for their lives, forced to leave everything behind. You can help them. Your donation to the Humanitarian Coalition will provide food, water, shelter, and medical care to the people of Ukraine who urgently need it. Call 1-855-461-2154 or donate online today at together.ca. That's together.ca. The Humanitarian Coalition. Together, saving more lives.
Are you the type who would keep going or stop? It's not easy to stop when you have an addiction. Legalizing cannabis won't stop addiction. It trivializes its consumption. Let's be vigilant. If you need help, visit portage.ca.
Hi, and welcome back to Grey County Life. I'm David Shearan. Mary Jane and Rhonda are still absent, so I'm the B team. You got me. And what would great county life be without adorable Adoptables and Renee from the animal shelter? And Renee, good to see you again. It's been a while.
Hi, I'm still here, still hanging around, still got lots of pets.
I'm sure. Now, who have you got in your lap?
This is my friend Rocky. Let's just zoom in so we can get a good look at him. Say hi. Rocky came to the shelter a few weeks ago as a found cat. Rocky had been out on an adventure and had got himself in some trouble. Had a big old hole in his face, which is how he earned the name Rocky. He was a little bit of a scrapper, we suspect. He has, however, healed up fine. Everything is good. He's actually been fully vetted. He's been neutered now. And as you can see, he's definitely not a fighter anymore. All lover now. He would love to be indoor only. We're hoping to convert him. He has learned to like dogs and cats. I mean, he's over it. It's funny sometimes when you take away those hormones, the difference you can see in them. He is a big old pussycat. Now, certainly you could change his name if you want to, because he's certainly not a Rocky, but more of a rock star. He is, however, gray in color. So, I mean, if you want to change it, you go ahead. We know for sure that his name was probably not Rocky in his previous home. These things happen where we sometimes change them up, and they do just fine with it. And I mean, it's early enough. He's only been with us a few weeks. You could certainly change it. He does come to kitty kitty. So all else fails, kitty kitty it is. He is 1.5, we guess. We certainly don't know for sure, but we're pretty darn good at guessing. We can use his teeth to determine he is over a year old and just recently over a year old. He's got his new adult teeth. So we're pretty sure he's about 1.5 years. Again, he has been neutered thanks to our spay-neuter fund. Donations, of course, help us take care of those sort of things. Boy, buddy, you are shedding all over my sweater. Spring is here. He is fully vaccinated, dewormed, and defleed, and he's been really good about using his litter box. A very clean cat. Has no reason that he needs to go outside. You're hugging. Yeah, you are. Thank you.
He sounds like a real cuddler, or he looks like he's a real cuddler.
He absolutely is. He would be great in just about any home. Certainly a home where somebody's got some time to spend with him would be ideal, because as you can see, it's his favorite thing to do. Definitely not stressed out about being at the animal shelter and doing just fine with the love he's getting, which is wonderful. Right?
Right. Great. That's great. Now, you said before we went to air that spring has sprung at the animal shelter. What's that mean?
Absolutely. Now, we're excited about that because, I mean, we don't like winter, so yay for that. But it's a very busy time for us. Beyond domestic animals, we certainly have a lot of wildlife calls too. Domestic-wise, now we're going to use Rocky as an example of the bad cat. Rocky was an intact cat. He had his boy parts when he got here, and probably that was why he's out on an adventure. If you have a cat at home that is not fixed, and we're not sure why you don't, we can certainly connect you with low-cost spay-neuter options as a PS. But if you do have a cat that is not altered, you might find they're a little extra frisky. And the same goes with dogs. You run a higher risk of dog bites, unfortunately. There's a higher risk of cats being aggressive, unfortunately. And we can certainly help somebody through keeping your pet safe, but as well people safe in your home. Additionally, be extra cautious. We're opening the windows to let fresh air in. I know I just did this here at the shelter and it's great. Be extra cautious because your pets are more apt to sneak out in the nice weather, right? Because, I mean, it's a nice day. We never want people to be letting their pets outside unsupervised. You can leash train a cat. You can leash train a dog. It's not hard to do. We can certainly help you with details on how to do that. But more importantly, if you have an indoor pet, dog or cat, it is a good idea that they have a piece of identification for such occasions. If your cat sneaks out the door, sneaks out the window, or your dog, whether they're intact or not, we would really appreciate a piece of ID "Who, buddy, where are you going?" that helps us get them back to you. For example, Rocky obviously was somebody's beloved pet at some point. We're not sure if they threw him out or if he wandered out, but we have absolutely no way of figuring that out if nobody calls. Oftentimes people assume that they've gone on a great adventure and they're coming home, or they assume the worst. And in those cases, they don't ever call us. And unfortunately, it means that they're going to end up in a new home, which, I mean, is the good news is we're a no-kill shelter. That's not the worst place they could end up, but it's something that people need to keep in mind. It is really easy to put a collar on your cat or your dog with your phone number. It could even just be there in Sharpie if you want to save the money for the dog tag or the cat tag. Just a piece of ID if they're not microchipped or tattooed, that helps us get them home, because now's the time. And I mean, it's really nice for us to just make a phone call and get them home without having to bring them here at all.
I happen to know from personal experience that works.
It sure does. It sure does. We do have our dog and cat tags on sale, of course, for the city of Owen Sound. Our dog tags are at their reduced price until March 31st. So you can get one for $20, which is a heck of a deal. It is the only tag that I can trace at home. So if we get a call about your dog in the middle of the night and he's wearing a city tag, I can call you and get him home without even having to come to town. So it's a win-win for both of us. People often ask me what the city tags provide, and that is the number one thing that we love about them. It gets us an opportunity to get them home. And we have had emergency situations where we've had to make life and death decisions, and it's really, really helpful that we can call an owner to make those kind of calls, as opposed to trying to make them on our own. So get your dog tag or your cat tag if you don't have one yet. Additionally, the wildlife is starting to come alive. They're starting to wander around. They're starting to work. Don't panic. It is absolutely normal to see them. It is not weird that they're wandering around in the middle of the day. I know we're all worried about rabies and always be concerned, but right now they're breeding and they're scavenging for food. And additionally, they have no idea what day it is. They have no idea what time it is. They're awfully confused. The weather often, I mean, as you know, we have warm snaps, cold snaps. One day it's 16, one day it's 2, one day it's minus 13. Imagine if the temperature determined whether or not you were awake or asleep. Your brain would be awfully messed up, right? And that's what's happening.
Renee, I hate to say it, we gotta go.
All right.
I love this. We could go on for a long time, but thank you for adorable adoptables. And friends, you know where to call Renee at the Owen Sound Animal Shelter. Always good to see you again, Renee. And thank you, friends, for being a part of Grey County life. I'm David Shearan, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I'm Nicole Martin, the proud ambassador for the Comfort Bear program. Comfort Bears provide these cuddly bears to local children who are terminally ill, facing trauma, or battling a serious illness. Every $20 donation will place a Comfort Bear into the loving arms of a child involved in our program. It is our hope to distribute 1,000 bears in 2022. Please join us and provide comfort to kids in their time of need.
As the fighting continues in Ukraine, thousands of people are fleeing for their lives, forced to leave everything behind. You can help them. Your donation to the humanitarian coalition